this is Mrs. Marita. Welcome to section 4.4, linear inequalities in two variables.
All right, everyone, we're on, this is lecture 4.4, linear inequalities. We're going to learn the basic rules that go into linear inequalities, and then you should be able to do some of the questions that you're going to see, okay? So it says in example 1, understand an inequality in two variables, okay? Describe the graph of the solutions of each inequality, okay? So here are some rules that we need to write down on your paper, okay? So if they use a less than or greater than sign, it's going to be a dotted line, okay? So we're going to need to know that. If they use a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to sign, it'll be a solid line. All right, so we need to know that that and that goes together. So a dotted line for these types of variables, or I'm sorry, these types of inequality signs, and then if they include an equal sign, it'll be a solid line. Okay. Not only that, okay, if it is less than or equal to, shade below. If it's greater than or equal to, shade above. Okay, and that's easy to remember in the sense that less than, below, greater than, shade above. Okay, so shade below if it's less than, greater than, above. Okay, so in this question, when it asks you to describe the graph of each solution, well, let's start by doing this. First, we take a look at the inequality sign. What type of line is it going to be? Is it going to be a solid line or a dotted line? It'll be a dotted line. That's going to be the first thing. And because it's y is less than this over here, because it's less than, we know that we're going to shade below. So let's go ahead and I'm going to show you guys what you're going to be doing. Now I have a nice and pretty graph here, but you can just draw with your straight edge. If it's y is less than negative 3x plus 5, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and I'm going to treat that inequality sign like an equal sign for right now. Y equals negative 3x plus 5. And by now you should know how to graph something that looks like this since it's in slope-intercept form. The slope is negative 3 over 1. Your y-intercept is 5. Okay? So I'm going to go to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. And I'm going to use the slope of negative 3 over 1, down 1, 2, 3 over 1, down 1, 2, 3 over 1, down 1, 2, 3 over 1. And I have a line that looks like this, and I'm going to use is I'm going to go ahead and do the dotted line because I know that the inequality sign is a dotted line. So it's going to be a dotted line here. And again, it's shade below, meaning it's less than. Okay, y is less than this line, so that means I'm going to shade this way. And all you're going to do is go ahead and shade it this way. And another way to look at this is if you were to test a point, let's say you tested 0, 0, since it's in the shaded region into this equation, inequality, it'll make sense. So if you plugged in 0, 0, let's test it into the inequality. X and your y, that's going to be 0 is less than 0 plus 5. Is that a true statement? Is 5 greater than 0? Yes, it is. So that's why the shaded solution, the shaded area are the solutions. Solutions. Okay? So the shaded area is where you'll find the solutions to this inequality. The non-shaded area will not be the solutions to this inequality. Okay, so you can pause and you can test it. Okay, the next question, I'll go ahead and take this off, and I'm going to put a new graph here for letter B. Okay, because letter B is the same thing. It says y is now greater than or equal to negative 3x plus 5. Okay, so I'm going to put this graph here for right now. And let's go ahead and take a look. First, it's y is greater than or equal to, which means is it going to be a dotted line or solid line? It'll be a solid line. and its y is greater than. So if it's greater than, we're going to shade above the line. Thankfully, the line is the exact same line that we used in question 1, which is slope is -3/1. Your y-intercept is 5. So I'm going to go ahead and graph that over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then from there, I'm going to go down 3/1, down 1, 2, 3/1, down 1, 2, 3/1. And I'm going to go back to the characteristics of this graph. It's a solid line. Solid line, solid line. And it's going to be greater than, so we're going to shade above. Okay, so we're going to go this way. Shade above the line. All right. And so shading above, which means that the solutions are going to be on this side. And what the solid line means is answers on the line are included. Okay, so an answer choice like 5 or 0, 5 would make sense in this inequality. All right. So hopefully after this example, you now understand what a dotted line and a solid line mean, and how we know we're going to shade up below or above the line. Okay, so that's example 1 there. Now let's jump to example 3. Example 3 here is now what inequality does each graph represent? It says write an inequality from a graph. So we're going to use the same information that we used in example 1 to write the inequality for example 3. Okay, the first thing is I need to do is I need to find the equation of the line. So I'm going to find the equation of the line, and then number 2, determine the inequality sign. Okay, so those are the 2 things that we're going to do. We're going to find the equation of the line, and then we're going to determine which inequality sign to use. Remember the information that we have here. Okay, and we know that this is going to be a dotted, and this is going to be a solid line. Okay, so let's be ready to use those. Okay, so in this case, I see a y-intercept here, and I see another point here, and I see another point here. Okay, so my slope is going to be up 1, rise 1, run 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it's going to be 1/3. My y-intercept is 0. So if y equals mx plus b, and y equals 1/3 x plus 0. So now I know my equation of my line. That's my first step. Now I need to determine what goes in this blank. Okay, how do I know whether it's less than or equal to, greater than or equal to? I'm not sure. Well, first, we got to determine that this is a dotted line. Okay, so in this question, it's a dotted line, which means I'm going to use a less than or greater than sign. Not only is a dotted line, it's shaded below. So use the information that we just found in this one, right? If it's shaded below, we know that it's going to be a less than sign. Okay, so it's going to be y is less than 1/3 x, and there's your inequality sign right there. Okay, so I use the dotted line to determine that this is going to be my sign, whether it's going to be less than or greater than, and then I determine that it's shaded below, so it's going to be y is less than 1/3 x. All right, so that's example 3. Let's go to example 3b now. Okay. Okay, that's your y-intercept, and I have a bunch of points here. My slope is equal to rise 2, run -1, and your y-intercept is 1. So I have y equals -2x plus 1, and I have a y, and I'm not sure what goes in that blank. I'm not sure whether it's a less than or greater than, or less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. Well, first off, okay, it's a solid line in this question. So because it's a solid line, I know that it's going to be one of these inequality signs, less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. And it's not only a solid line, but it's shaded below. Shaded below means that it's going to be this sign right here, less than or equal to. And there's your answer there. Okay, so it's like a puzzle. I'm using the information in the graph to basically determine which inequality sign to use. Okay, let's go to example 4 now. The last two questions in example 4 is to graph inequalities in one variable in the coordinate plane. All right, and so we remember from the previous lessons here, y is greater than -2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and draw my xy coordinates, or I'm sorry, my xy axis. Okay, x and y. So for letter A, I'm going to treat y is greater than -2, and I'm going to first write it out like a linear equation. Y equals -2 is, we know, is going to be a horizontal line at -2. Okay? And then this tells me that it's going to be a dotted line. So I'm going to go across here with a dotted line. And how do I know which way to shade it, above or below? Well, it's greater than, so y is greater than -2 means it's going to be a dotted line, and it's going to be shaded above, this way. All right, so it's a horizontal line with a shading above based on the inequality sign that we see here. The last question here now is I'm going to go ahead and draw the xy coordinate again because it's going to ask us to graph. And if I drew that xy coordinate, all right, my question is x is less than or equal to 1, which means let's go ahead and graph x equals 1 first. We know that that's going to be a vertical line at x equals 1. And I don't know if it's going to be a solid or dotted. Well, I know it's going to be a solid because of the inequality sign, including the equal sign. So it's going to be a solid line here. And I'm not sure where the above and below goes. Well, I know that I'm going to test a point. So I'm going to try x equals 3 here. Is 3 greater than or equal to 1? No, it's not. So we're going to shade the opposite direction this way, away from that answer. Because let's say I chose like a -1. -1 is less than 1 for sure, so that makes sense. So that is included in the solution. So I'm going to shade towards the solution. So if there's a reminder for you, shaded towards solutions. Shaded towards solutions. All right?
And that's it for 4.4. Make sure you copy down all your notes and bring your questions to class.